Good afternoon to everyone. I am not Ragnar. Ragnar is a bit late, apparently. So welcome to the next session. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Carl.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. I hope we're all here. So welcome to the future of work in hospitality. Do skills still matter? We have a wonderful session prepared from people from all around. We have Fabrice Tessier, the Vice President of School Relations from Partnerships at ACORE. Jeremy Dardy, who is the Executive Director of International of City and Guilds from the UK. Good morning to you. Andy Cuthbert, General Manager of Jumeirah Creekside Hotel, and also happened to be working with the World Chefs for a long, long time. John Law, Director of Development of School Relations from HOSCO from Barcelona. Good morning to you. And Rick Stevens, Director of Kitchens at SATS here in Singapore. World Chefs Continental Director for Asia as well. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Or good morning from where I am.
Okay, wonderful. Hi, good morning to you. I believe we are all very careful now in terms of the COVID environment and what it has in store for the hospitality skills set, what people need, and how they're going to be looking forward to 2020 and 2021, from both from the operator's perspective, but also from the perspective of the employee. So I think the discussion today will very much go around, what shortages are there, what the industry needs, but equally what employment skills, what employers need in order to maybe be fit for a recovering time. So the panel today, we will explore the sudden change in landscape for skills shortage versus oversupply, as I mentioned, and the shift in power and recruitment, so skills in demand and who is recruiting. So we're looking at staff training and development, areas of investment and sacrifices, and then also employer-led skills strategies to support the recovery of the industry and planning for growth. So it's a lot of topic and ground we have to cover today. And I would maybe start with HOSCO, John Law, actually in Barcelona, perhaps with that, because he happens to work in one of the leading hospitality recruitment agencies. So I would like to have your view on what is currently, the industry's need and what's the industry looking for. I mean, they are not hiring. So what is happening at the moment? What do you see when you talk to your clients?
They're not hiring right now, that's true, but they're planning. They need to plan for the future, and they know that the future involves the workforce and talents that our schools provide and generally that the industry can provide. So we've been trying to get under the hood about those needs through a couple of data surveys we've been doing to our employers, including HR directors, including general managers, etc. We call that the hospitality pulse, if you will, yeah? And what that has done is basically give us a little bit of data and insight into what the future will look like. We've looked at things such as when will recovery finally come, right? When will the hiring trends and the capacity of hiring be back to normal? Just I think for the audience's sake, I'd like to just briefly share some of that data because it kind of backs up, and I think it kind of starts off the conversation in a data-driven way. So just a moment, I'm going to share my screen with you.
Thank you.
Just let me know when you can see it. Can you see this, yes?
Yeah, right. We can see your screen. There you go.
Yeah. So this is the Hospitality Pulse. You can find this on hosco.com at any time. And if you look at this first graph, you see, of course, a lot of numbers and bars here. But what this basically says is that 38% of our respondents expect to reactivate their recruitment plan during this year. They predict to recruit more intensely between January and June 20 and 21. Yeah. And since we've been doing this for 3 months, you can kind of see the shift of mentality. And we do see a slow move to more confidence. But as we know, we're in extremely tumultuous times. A second wave may affect that as well. The other piece we looked at is headcount recovery. When will it finally get back? Well, in June, employers basically are more hopeful about that recovery. But still, headcount by Q2 of 2021 recovery is the main point, right? So all in all, we're still looking at 18 months until we get to a full recovery point. And right now, and I think all of our speakers would agree, the main priorities are financial management, workforce engagement, and workforce health and safety. So that's the situation we're in right now. What we see on the Hosco side is people are preparing. The mise en place, if you will, is being done online. Students, professionals are looking to upskill. They're looking to maybe get a degree online. They're preparing for the recovery. And if you ask me, that's the best possible thing anyone could do right now. Position yourself with the right skills, the right knowledge to jump immediately back in the industry. And also understand that your role in hospitality is going to be very different than it was in the past. I would argue that you'll be even more respected, even more important in that hotel because you control the health and safety of those guests, which has now become priority number one for those guests.
Okay, very interesting. And I see our moderator, official moderator.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Over to you, Ragnar.
Yes, I guess technology plays a trick on us sometimes, and it's Murphy's Law. Good morning, everyone. And I can hear that John Lohr, he sort of kicked off the session, and he gave us all the answers, if I can hear correctly.
I set the stage, Ragnar. I just set the stage. It's your show now.
Thank you, John. Thank you for stepping in. It's really good to have you there. Yeah, and I was actually reading your report earlier, and it's a very interesting thing, and I think this is something that we could be touching base on during this session. So I apologize, everyone, to all that is listening, that I was a little bit late in here. But hey, let's get started. Thank you, Carl. So we have the panel gathered of employer professionals and from HostCo, City and Guilds. Just to go through the panelists one by one. We have with us Rick Stevens, speaking to us from Singapore. Rick is the director of kitchens of SATS Catering Solutions, also a board member of World Chefs and a continental director of Asia. That's his other job. But the SATS Catering Solutions is Asia leading provider of food solutions and gateway services in 14 countries, employing 17,000 people. And Rick, you serve all over Asia is 400,000 meals every day. And in Singapore alone, 100,000 meals every day. Not only the airline catering, but also Singapore Armed Forces, childcare facilities, and hospitals. So thank you and welcome, Rick.
Thank you, Ragnar, but that's all pre-COVID-19, okay?
Right.
All those figures.
You walk us through the new figures later then. Also with us we have in Dubai is Andy Cuthbert, a general manager of Jumeirah Creekside Hotel, and also the Medina Jumeirah Conference and Incentive Center. Andy, you're also the chairman of the Emirates Culinary Guild and a World Chef board member as a continental director of Africa and Middle East. And so I mentioned, so Jumeirah globally is a major hospitality operator in the Middle East, especially operating over 20 luxury hotels, employing 14,000 people in global. Also with us here is Fabrice Tessier. Fabrice is talking to us from Paris. Sorry, Andy, I was going to say welcome, but welcome, Andy. I didn't hear your voice yet.
Yes, here I am. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hi for you.
Welcome to you. Fabrice talking to us from Paris. Actually, Fabrice, you're my next door neighbor. I just found out. And so you're at Accor Hotels. Fabrice Tessier, you're the vice president of schools relations and partnerships at Accor. And Accor being one of the world's leading hotel groups, you operate nearly 50 global brands in all price categories. And on a normal year, you would employ 300,000 people worldwide, and you recruit 80,000 new persons into industry every single year in a normal year. Welcome to you, Fabrice.
Thank you.
I guess everybody knows John Lohr. He was talking when I came in. John is talking to us from Barcelona, back in lockdown, I'm afraid, John.
Getting there, my friend, getting there.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. So John Lohr is the Director of Development of School Relations for HostCo. And HostCo is one of the world's largest hospitality network with 1.5 million members, including more than 7,500 employers of all sizes and categories. and representing more than 400 top hospitality schools, associations, training providers around the world. So HOSCO is really the best ally for companies to attract top talent and to continue to build a solid and engaged team to engage with their employees. And it's a platform that basically provides technology to reach, engage, educate, and match individuals with jobs and job opportunities very efficiently. So again, welcome, John.
Thank you.
And finally, with us is Jeremy Dati. Jeremy, are you speaking from London?
I am, yes.
Okay, welcome, Jeremy. So Jeremy is with us from London, and Jeremy is the Executive Director of City and Guilds International. And well, City and Guilds has a long heritage, about over 140 years of existence, and has been a world leader in skills development, working with industry and governments to set the standards and to certify skills, purpose of getting people into jobs basically and help them progress on the job and get them from one job to the next job. So an innovative organization that works with world chefs, co-designing the global hospitality certification, was built with employers and including world chef on the culinary certification. So well, that completes the panel. Welcome to you all. Really good to see you.
Thank you, Ragnar.
And John, he sort of set the landscape a little bit for us on the employment side, but really what we wanted to get together here and explore is really the session, the impact that employers feel on the COVID-19 has had on their workforce in the hospitality industry, and in particular on skills and skills development, and basically what that means for the sector. Because before the COVID, skills and training development were really seen as a key ingredient for success of companies and individuals. And now is in the later months with the lockdown and post-lockdown, most hospitality businesses are having to lay off workers. And there are not many jobs available, or are there? John will tell us. And in many organizations, training budgets are not going to be the priorities while their companies are fighting to survive. So just to, I want to start my questions to the employers, and I'm just one after the other, basically to sort of set the landscape. If you can describe the hospitality landscape you are in at the moment, what are your top priorities as a business in terms of reopening? Is it financial viability, staffing, whether it's to have sustainable staffing, or concerns over redundancies, decision that had to be made in your organizations. Andy, your situation in a few words, please.
Thanks, Ragnar. I mean, talking from a purely United Arab Emirates standpoint, of course, our city, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Dubai mainly though, is heavily dependent on the hospitality and the tourism. So with everything locked, closed, slowly reopening, of course, we are all challenged as much as everybody else is. As we see the possibility of reopening of borders and international travel, this gives us some hope. But of course, like everybody else, we're looking at internal travel, regional travel first. So the landscape has changed, of course. It'll continue to change, and it's going to evolve over the next 3 to 6 months in our part of the world anyway. And we just hope that it's going to slowly come back as and when the rest of the world can open up and get the airplanes back in the air, basically.
How has it been with the people in your organization? Have you had to make redundancies, or are you keeping them on or training?
We're very conscious about the human factor, and John alluded to the health and safety of the colleagues as well. I mean, of course, like everybody across the world, we've had to look at furloughing, which is one of the better ways of doing it, giving the people choices, looking at how we can sustain people both in the country or have them go back home and come again. You need to realize that here we are a predominantly expatriate workforce from 200 plus nationalities living in the country. So it's very much different to furloughing in the UK or Australia, where you sit at home and then you come back when you're ready. Here home is thousands of miles away. So it is a very different dynamic for us here. And we work very closely with our human capital partners within the company, but also working closely with the operations and what the operations need. And as the hoteliers on the call will know, owned versus managed, it's always around what the ownership is also looking for from your operation as well.
Right. What sort of level of furloughing are we talking about in your?
It depends on the and really depends on the departmental wise and across the globe as well with our hotel company, Ragnar. I won't put a figure on it because I don't have that figure with me, but of course it is substantial if you reduce a hotel operating and you suspend trading like many of us have had to do. Then we appropriately adjust our workforces.
Right. So opening up now, is it picking up for you a little bit, or is it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the other hoteliers on the call will see. You know, we're all reopening and we're getting ready to reopen. You know, we're in the middle of summer here, so summer here versus maybe summer in Europe is a bit different. But we need to rely on the locally based staycation business at the moment across the Emirates. So this is where we're all opening hotels. Some have reopened in July. There was a big reopening as the borders reopened on July the 7th when the airport was reactivated, especially in Dubai, not only for repatriation flights but also for the tourism sector. So we do see some people coming back in, and as that opening has started, then you see the hotels coming back on board as well.
Right, thank you, Andy. So hard hit industry, but slowly recovering or slowly reopening, really just in
like everybody, yeah.
I don't know, Fabrice, perhaps you can give us a different picture from your global perspective. In Accor Group generally, is there a general approach, or what has been the impact from your side and reopening? What is this?
Yes, Ragnar, yes, and good afternoon again, yes, to everyone. Yes, in fact, yes, we are now in the transitory situation, I would say, because it has been a huge, of course, a huge impact as we had, 200,000 out of 300,000 employees would cause, more than 3,000 hotels were closed at the time, and those days getting better. But at that time, yes, we had to first take care of our teams and to create, our all artist fund, which has been, funded by the shareholders, in fact, because dividends has been purposely, kept in order, to give 25% of that to our employees who were affected with difficult situations with their families or themselves, financial or healthy situation. And so we had 12,000 employees who asked for that and for being supported. And so it has been done like that. And also for guests, it has been very important to keep the contact. And we had a program which was sent by Accor Live Limitless, our loyalty program, which is more than loyalty, because it was the motto was our passions can't be locked down. So we've organized during all the coronavirus crisis, some sport, restaurants, entertainment events, which were followed by our guests from home. And so that was the case. And nowadays, yes, of course, it is getting better. We have 4,000 hotels now reopened, and we are opening everywhere. And as well, we are having some marketing plans and bringing back our employees who were furloughed step by step. And from some places, we can recruit again, but it is something which is, yes, of course, yes, very difficult because occupancy rate until the borders are not yet open, and we have some tourism, but it is domestic business mainly, which we reach everywhere. And as you maybe have heard, that we started with a big sanitary plan in order to give the confidence to our guests, which is all safe, with very tough audit in all hotels before reopening, and giving that accreditation in order, yes, to be able to give, yes, the proper, yes, welcome. The issue is also, yes, for safety. Also, we have developed with AXA a partnership, giving some medical assistance when they need to our guests wherever they are, and of course, yes, to our teams also. We maintain and try to develop still the experience, because this is the thing. We want to give, yes, happy experience and some fun to our guests, and so in this moment, yes, this is, yes,
assuring the customer side.
We work on it. Yes,
so did I understand correctly? So how about laying off people? You managed to keep it to a minimum, sort of the number of redundancies, and you have your funding to help those people to get over this period. Is that what I understand?
Sorry.
So you kept the employees on board, and 90% of them, or was
yes,
there?
We made a fund, yes, which was.
Right. So not
our
to be
employees have been supported, yes, in terms of health.
I see. So nobody's left behind, like in the military. So the people are ready to be mobilized when you reopen. Oh, that's really interesting to hear. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Fabrice. Maybe Rick. Rick, also from the employer side, but perhaps slightly different. You could paint a different picture for us. Could you elaborate on that in your organization? How the COVID has had an impact on the priorities and on staffing levels? And
well, Ragnar, from an airline situation there, like Singapore has gone from 180,000 passengers per day down to about 4,000 passengers per day. So in the airline business, we've lost about 98% of our business. So, which has been quite dramatic. From a staffing point of view, the government's actually kind of controlled our staffing a little bit, because when they closed the border with Malaysia, we have a lot of staff come across daily from Malaysia. And so that there stopped the flow of staff coming through. But then we did start to pick up some business again through here in Singapore. For those who don't know, we have a lot of domestic workers' dorms, all the construction workers and that there. So when we lost the airline business, then we picked up some of the dorm business. So we've lost a lot of staff. Those people who went home can't come back in unless you're essential service. So our staffing level is okay at the moment. Yes, we have a few extras, but there's a lot of other business out there that because the hotels, the other people don't have people cooking, so they're looking for OEMs or ready to cook food or easy to prepare food. So this is where we're targeting with what staff we have.
Right. So are you recruiting for the time being? Is it? Do you see?
We're recruiting in some sections, not so much in the kitchen, but SATS is not just airlines. 60-70% of our business is airlines, but we have lots of other areas. We have country food, which is virtually a big provider. We bring a lot of food in to distribute throughout Singapore. So we're recruiting in some areas, or we're actually taking the staff from the kitchens here in the airport, and we put them in our other companies like SFS, which is part of us, who do a lot of this other catering, whether it be in the hospitals or with the army. So we move the staff around to the best we can. But there's been, through our HC, there's been a lot of training. Every person who's on the junior level of management up to the big bosses had to go on and do a number of courses. And these courses were all monitored by our HC department, and they would tell you when you were falling behind. So education's been really big for us to upscale everybody, uptrain. Now we're actually moving that the same with the chefs. We want our Indian chefs not just to be Indian chefs. We want them to understand about pastry. We want our Chinese chefs to be able to move into the Western kitchen. So a big push for us now is multi-skilling in the kitchen as well.
Right. So that's a very interesting point. So basically shifting the workforce and upskilling during this period. So keeping the laying off people to the very minimum. So having had that first information from the panelists, I wanted to ask a poll to the audience, whether here at the audience, if you who are listening, do you expect a full recovery in the hospitality industry? And if already has recovered, that your business has not been impacted? If yes, but in about 6 months' time, if yes, in about 12 months' time, or yes, you expect recovery, but only in 2 years' time, or you just don't expect a full recovery for the hospitality industry at all. If I leave you a few seconds to vote on that.
Ragnar, I would like to jump in before they vote.
Yeah.
So in the airline industry, just so everyone, what they're predicting is business won't be back to 60% normal to June 2021, 60% normal. So that's going to have effect on the hotels, the restaurants, everybody with employment. And then they're even predicting to get back to pre-COVID 100% another 3 years down the road, because the way the travel arrangements and what's expected now. So I just want to let people know, like a lot of hotels and even upmarket restaurants depend on the tourists. Okay. But if it's not 60% to 2021, then obviously we're kind of caught in limbo, everybody.
Right, that's correct. And we see that a lot of restaurants and hotels that are sort of trying to gain more a local market attraction. And in some cases, this is impossible. There is no local market. It's 100% tourism, and that will take a longer to recover. So I guess not everybody is equal when it comes to the COVID recovery. So we're still voting on that one. Perhaps, and I see on my dashboard there is another question to the audience, and I think it needs to be voted all in one go, I guess. The second question is has your organization had to make redundancies due to COVID-19? And so yes or no, but maybe not yet, but we'll have to, or not affected at all. So I'm just waiting for these results to come in. We'll wait a few seconds, 20 seconds or so. Any other reactions on that from the panelists?
I might just add that a recent McKinsey report that I came across was suggesting that in a muted recovery, it could take more than 5 years for the most affected sectors to get back to 2019 levels. And unfortunately, at the very top of that list were arts, entertainment and recreation, and then accommodation and food services. So yeah, a bit more of a sort of a pessimistic view, but I suppose it's a reflection on sort of past recessions we've had and experiences we've had. So, take that with what you will, but I'd be interested to see how the polls are thinking as well. Absolutely, and the polls are in, so I can tell you right now, a majority of 44% expects a recovery in about 12 months, and another big second majority of 37% says yes, but only in 2 years' time. So a large number of the audience here, 80% of the audience, is sort of looking at 12 to 2 years or more to recovery.
well, there are some optimistics with this. So 12 months, I guess we'll sign in for that. And on the second question, whether your organization has had to make redundancies, 40% answer yes, and 20% answer no. I guess, which is sort of what the global statistic that we see, 80% shrinkage in the hospitality industry globally, and so I guess the audience reflects that. Now, just with these questions in mind, and just to go back to the employers here, on how these priorities that you're facing now with reopening and the hygiene and safety and business viability, how that has impact on training strategies in the medium and immediate short term. Rick touched base on that earlier, and I don't know, Andy, as companies, if I can ask you, Andy, as companies are struggling for survival, do you think they will sacrifice the training of personal development?
No, I don't. Skills will still matter. Skills mattered before and skills will matter in the future. It's the level of skills, or what are the new skills that we're going to have to teach. If you have a look at Rick Stevens, he's wearing a neckerchief as a chef, as a cook. That's a skill that we don't teach anymore, because this for me is important to have the basis, yeah? But the amount of skills that are needing still to be taught will change as we come back, but also the training in my hotels and my areas, we still train, but we train differently. Yes, we train digitally. Yes, we upskill. Yes, we cross-train. I've got my club executive people working in the gym at the moment because of the health and hygiene and sanitation that we have to go through. So this is one, repurposing the people, but also giving them new skills. We then see that the club executive people are much better with the customer, so you get a better customer rapport and you actually get better feedback from your members in a private club environment or a hotel. We continue to do our leadership training online. We continue to do our skills training. We still do competitions with the chefs in the kitchens, whether it's online or physical, but there is always room for the skills, and the skills will still matter. For me, it's just the skills will change. One good point to John was, again, back to this health and safety aspect. What are the mental health skills that we may have to train, and what are the different skills that we're going to have to emphasize on leaders and managers as we continue to go through the present landscape, and as it gets harder to lay off people or whatever it is, how do you deal with that with young people that are in a management or leadership role, and what do they need? What skills do they need to actually manage their people better, and to have empathy and to understand that you send one person home from this country, you affect up to possibly 3 to 4 families. Absolutely. So it's understanding what is the reaction to your action as well.
Ragnar, can I make a comment there?
Please.
Yeah, skills will matter. The question is, where will the skills come from? In the traditional sense, we had all these hospitality schools around the world, right? And Fabrice works with them. I work with 400 of them. And all those schools have operated on a pretty traditional model, right? A bachelor, a master, 3-4 years lag time to get that student out to being a professional in the industry. Even before COVID-19, we were facing a huge talent shortage. And a lot of those schools were saying, maybe we shouldn't just offer bachelors, we should offer short courses or skills badged with the school's credentials behind it. Well, now comes COVID-19, and that has just gone into overdrive. And so what I'm seeing from all of my school partners is they are rapidly developing online skills training. Now, some of this cannot be replicated. To have culinary skills done online can be done, but it's difficult. The leadership can be, revenue management can be, and certainly a gap, like you mentioned, Anthony, that frankly was not covered well in the schools was health and safety. Probably a small chapter in a housekeeping book that none of the students even wanted to learn, and now it's become the most important thing. So there's an opportunity here, but the schools need to react fast, and academia is not good at normally reacting fast. But here's where I think the industry can come and help academia in helping guide the curriculums, make these quick changes so these very digestible skills can be quickly accessed and digested and then used to not have a lag time. Because when the recovery comes, and of course it will come, we will be at a huge talent deficit, and the industry will have to rapidly reskill, retrain, and rehire.
Yeah, yeah.
Ragnar, can I just make a build on that? Because of course, I mean, that speaks right to the heart of my lifeline, of my blood, with being a vocational education specialist, which is all about skills. We at City and Guilds, we don't talk about academia, we talk about the skills for a job. And one of the things to sort of highlight that obviously in partnership with World Chefs is we have created a global certification for the entire industry to cover all parts of the industry. And we're finding this to be particularly powerful. This is something that's been in existence for a number of years, but particularly at this point, we're finding it to be even more popular because people do need to recognize their skills, because a lot of people have achieved skills through actually informally from doing the job, or actually they've achieved skills in other means, not necessarily having gone to a school or a training school, but actually they're still highly skilled. And one of the great things about the global certification is you can achieve a digital credential to recognize your skills that are transportable. You can then take that anywhere in the world and still be recognized. So I did see a question actually from the audience about what about certification and worldwide certification? Well, it's already here. It exists, and it's not necessarily through training schools. It is something that can be accessed directly from ourselves or through actually employers, and Andy is a key employer that we work with that promotes this. So actually this does exist, and I think very much to your point, John, it's about actually more bite-sized learning and actually recognition of skills rather than necessarily going to a school for 2 or 3 years, which takes people out of the workplace.
I
just like to jump in there.
About academic, yes, I would say yes, and I hope that you can hear me well. Sorry, because I think that before it was not so clear. I hope that now it is. And that is true. No, you can hear me better. No, can hear me better.
That's better.
No, can hear me better. Yes, it's okay. It's okay like that. Okay, now just to talk about the different skills that are available. Yes, I would say, and needed, because more and more there will be some skills where our young generation, young talents, reaching and joining us can bring very quickly. In fact, there is a green and digital transition that they have to be able to manage and to be the one to help us in that, and they are keen on that. Also about the well-being. We were talking about the safety, but in different manners, I would say, because we have the well-being in terms of hygiene, but we have also in terms of taking care of senior guests, and as well, yes, of course, of themselves. This is something which is so important. As well, skills for entrepreneurship. We still have, yes, a need for entrepreneurship, innovation, and then we have the soft skills. Soft skills, yes, we are asking, yes, to academy to develop on that, because now we see that they need agility, they need stress resistance, that's for sure, and the leadership we are talking about, yes, that's so important, as well as the positiveness. They have to take care, be service-oriented, but be positive. They have to bring us. We need, as more senior persons, we need their fresh mind, but as well, yes, support and taking care of those crisis moments that we are going through. We will still have some, for sure, but they can help us on that. And also, we have to give them back, of course, as we have received from our senior before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just jump in here, Ragnar, about the skills. Just talking about the current situation, because you're talking about education, which is a little bit in the future. But for the current situation, our skills are going to be super important. And I'm not talking about the skills to work in a Michelin star. I'm just talking about the basic skills of a chef to be able to transfer them or move them around the various areas. And it could be just a hawker market where you're going to move it around, or to be a hamburger cook. But basically, we're looking at chefs nowadays, because we've had such a reduction in staffing. What we've got to look at it is closing down our menus, not making them so big anymore. So that means less people doing all the mise en place, more consistency on the product. Then another skill would be on what money we're going to save on our costs or the production of these things. Now, these are, we've been taught previously or through our life, these are previous skills that we've got to reinvent, if you want to know that. But the staffing part of it is the most important part, on the training, so that we as chefs, I'm talking as a chef, okay, not as a hotelier, but talking to all the guys in Singapore, like some of the things now that happen here, I asked the guys, I said, what's happening now? And they said, before you'd advertise for a chef and they'd come in and say, what can you give me? You know, what's the benefits? What are you going to do for me? Now they're coming in and say, hey, I need a job. I don't mind taking down payment or downgrading the pay. I need the job. So these are the things that are there. So it's a lot of mindsets that we've got to change at the moment, from being in the upper echelon to coming down to being at ground level at the moment, until business starts to pick up.
Can I just share actually a recent episode, Rick, that highlights part of that actually. And actually, when people have been asking, I've seen online asking, you know, which skills are the ones that are really now most needed? In the UK, we only just recently, at the start of July, reopened hospitality venues. And I heard a story of someone who was so desperate to have their first pint that they visited a pub as soon as it opened, but only to find that the beer was warm. Not only that, but the glass that it was served in had lipstick marks on it. Now, considering that a number of us have been in lockdown for a number of months and have been fed quite a bit of fear factor from our media about the virus and how it spreads and like, how does that look to a punter when someone receives that sort of service? I mean, it's basic skills, and it just goes to show, I mean, that's one isolated example, but it goes to show actually that it's almost some of the basics just need to be polished up, and that people just need to make sure that they've got that in place, and remind themselves actually that the public themselves have a certain amount of apprehension and they need to be reassured. And that's where health and safety and just general basic hygiene factors just need to be dialed up even further than they normally would.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, moving on, and thank you for that, Jeremy, picking up the question from the audience. When we've heard all these different points of view, and I sort of sense that that when we came into this panel discussion, really with the fear that skills no longer matter, they've been set to a secondary rating. What I'm hearing in this panel is the contrary. Skills really do matter. They seem to be in the heart of everything. John, I mean, you were talking when I came in, so I hope I didn't miss a key issue in your messaging. But in your perspective, what you just heard around the table here, is this what you are hearing from employer partners around the world in terms of recruitment and skills? Does that reflect the same at your sensing?
Yeah, I mean, first on the data side, the survey we just gave pretty much matches what we've said. It's going to be 12 to 18 months, and that has changed from April, May, and June, as we've seen. So that's still everyone kind of a finger in the air, and let's see. And let's not forget, the entire reason we're in this situation is because of a global virus, and we find that global cure to that virus, things will probably move quite fast back to normal, right? But regarding skills, I mean, you have to look at the traditional way in which employers worked with our hospitality schools. You know, Fabrice knows very well as well. You know, they would traditionally go to campus, give a presentation, and also through the entire time, they would seed this concept of have a global career, work in these Michelin star restaurants. So I think Rick's point is absolutely spot on. But it's difficult. It's difficult for a hospitality school to sell the vision of being a burger chef rather than working in the Michelin star restaurant, because that's what they did. That's why they maybe left India, came to Switzerland to have this career. But we're not saying that that career won't come back. It's just in the meantime. So to answer your question, the industry is trying to turn to the schools to find the skills, but not all the schools have them. We work with a couple top schools in Switzerland, for example, the Swiss Education Group. I know they've created micro-learning to do exactly that. I know my alma mater, Lyon Hotel Management School, has done the same. But these are some of the more elite, let's say, highly technologically advanced schools. I think Fabrice knows all of those vocational schools across France, they cannot create online trainings. They don't have the facilities to do so. So I think what we're really looking to do, and what we know the industry is doing, is trying to find the benchmark standard of skills, breaking it out beyond the Accor way, beyond the Marriott way, just in the general way, as Jeremy mentioned best, serve a cold beer when the guest asks for it, right? So to find these benchmark providers, I think that's where City Guilds comes into play. And I think that's where Hosco comes into play, because when those providers are found, we will host it on Hosco, because we've also had to make our shift. Before we had 40,000 jobs available in the hospitality industry. Now we're down to around 5 or 6, but we will come back. But until then, we have re-engineered our site to host skills. So you can find skills. You can find a World Chef course on skills. You can find a European bartending course on Hosco. That wasn't available 6 months in advance. So we're trying to meet the industry demand by giving them ways for talents to find skills, not just to find jobs.
Because we have a few minutes left, very quickly, because we're on that issue, and you mentioned on the education sector, and Ante picked on that as well. Fabrice, very quickly, has all these changes, has this had an impact on your recruitment strategy and your relations with the schools? What is your message to the schools as you are responsible for that?
Sure, we are changing. We are changing because we have to adjust distantly. Also for us, yes, talking to the students, talking to the schools, and we are developing on social media, on webinar, on challenges that we set. Also training them, organizing some training as coaching them, the students for how to be interviewed distantly. Giving some advice, giving some coach, giving some conferences, because for us it's so important to keep the contact. Those days are difficult, but we have to keep the contact. We have to be available for answering to critical questions that they can have, and giving them some vision as far as we have on the reopening or the jobs of tomorrow, and when it is possible, yes, to join us. As well to educators. In fact, into educators, yes, we are in discussion in order, yes, to teach, yes, bringing their students with more maturity about the contact. The skills they are developing. Now there are new ways, as John was mentioning, new ways to get some skills, but also how to promote, how to make them happen is not as easy as before if we don't meet so often. So we have to be ready to also convince distantly, and to keep that human touch, which is making our job, in fact. And then that's something also to be developed, and to bring them with some also skills about how to market themselves in other ways, and to be in contact with us. And we are also working a lot on keeping the contact and developing our attractivity through different channels.
Exactly. Thank you, Fabrice. So just to close, Jeremy, I wanna just give you the closing words here, and so the panel discussion was, do skills matter? And I think we've really nailed it. Skills do matter, and I'm sure you're pleased to hear that. So can you tell me just a little bit, as a City and Guilds, as an organization, how can you support industry, and what can be done to make sure that all this great talent that has been brought into industry does not fade away when things reopen, as was mentioned by John earlier, that we're going to be at a skills shortage. So what needs to be done towards employers or governments from City and Guild side?
So I was listening last week to the UK Skills Minister, and there's been a lot of intervention done by the UK government into industry generally, but targeted at hospitality in particular to support it, to help it survive this period. And that minister was talking very much about, you know, the deep need for partnership of employers with governments, with organizations, charitable organizations, voluntary organizations such as ourselves. And I think it is that partnership which is so important. I mentioned before about a certification that is now in existence, and that was something that, whilst we created with World Chefs, that was made with partners, with employers. You know, that was not done in isolation. That was co-created with employers, and it's that is going to be our solution. And in some parts of the world, I'm delighted to hear that governments are really intervening. In fact, it's really interesting to hear what Rick was saying about Singapore a bit earlier, but in places like Republic of Ireland and in Bahamas, you know, we have now direct intervention by governments to support hospitality, tourism more widely, because it's so critical to their economies. And they are actually playing a very, very important place to upskill. And they're working with us actually to help achieve that. So So, we're positioned here, we are working with employers, we're listening to employers, we're engaging as much as we can, but also trying to link up with governments wherever possible. And in some countries, of course, that's more favored than others. And we do have the benefits of sort of spanning 80 different countries. So we get to see a lot of variety. But I'd say on the whole, there is a great deal of desire to support the industry because it's seen as such an important industry for the worldwide. Pre-COVID, it contributed to over 10% of global GDP. This is not just a small sector. This is a really, really critical sector to our world economy. And so it's just key that we continue to have an open dialogue. And I think sessions like today are absolutely fantastic for us to continue to build and to listen to each other and understand each other's perspectives and to build from there. And actually, I'd lend a hand of support and help to everybody who's on here and our listeners. Look, we are here to help you. And we can only do this if we're all working together actually through this. And we will get through this. This is a really tough moment and a really tough, deep recession we're all going to face. But we will get through this because the industry is incredibly resilient. And I'm very, very positive that if we keep skilling people up, keep them ready, and very much watching for that upturn and that recovery, we will come out of this very, very positively.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing, please, Ragnar? We talk about schools and the young people. Don't forget the old guys like me and Rick. We thought Zoom was some superhero until we knew what Zoom was digitally. So it's the mature population of hospitality or whatever that also needs upskilling, reskilling. Yeah, we're good at doing the traditionals, but what is the, I wouldn't want to say aging population, Mr. Rick, for me and you, but you got more hair than me, but what is it that we need to give to those people within the industry as well, that they also find themselves struggling with something new and struggling with technology that is completely alien to them sometimes. Just to add that. Thank you for that.
Thank you for adding that, Andy. So one for yourself. And now I think with that we have an amazing summary. Just as we started this discussion, going over the landscape and how the industry finds itself in very deep crisis, and to discussing with you, gentlemen, what can be done and what is needed in terms of skills. And I think we really nailed it, that skills really do matter, and it's about recognizing skills, as you mentioned, Jeremy, upskilling, and also like as Rick and John mentioned, back to the basics. What skills are really the ones that are needed in the post-COVID world? As Jeremy said, restaurants and the hospitality industry is like a glue for communities. It's not an industry that goes away easily, and it will. And actually, I think this is what most of the populations of the world felt during the lockdown, is they were missing that glue in their communities. And the first thing you wanted to do is go out and grab that beer without a lipstick on the glass and have it served. Even here in Paris, I was thinking, oh my God, I can go into a restaurant and I can ask them to change the menu. And like, I want this instead of that. And they did it with a smile. And that's Paris. And so I think hospitality has great days ahead. And I want to thank you all for joining us. I don't think we have time for any questions from the audience. Maybe one, John, will salary be going down in the industry? Is this going to impact the salary level, or does that depend on?
I honestly cannot say from any data-driven perspective, but in my honest opinion, I think it should go up, because look how more important the employee is now to the guests. We're not just a hotel, we're almost even a hospital. Yeah, we are looking after people in the psychological way, in a health way, as well as in a hospitable way. So in my honest opinion, it should go up.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I've been told I don't have any more time, but we have lots of questions here. Firstly, I really want to thank you all for taking the time to be a part of this panel. I think it was a great panel discussion, and I hope it gave insights to those who are listening. I know there were a lot of questions, and if people want to have a follow-up, then do log into World Chef's World Chef podcast. We're going to go over these questions and maybe take in some more questions from the audience and discuss those in a more tranquil manner. Now I'm being thrown out of this room, gentlemen. We're all being thrown out. Fabrice, I'll see you down the road for a glass of wine. You're the only one I can say that.
We can
Everybody
do
else.
that, yes, in the Parisian way and also international way. Huh? With a great pleasure. Thanks
so much.
everyone. It
God
was a
bless.
great pleasure and very
Stay
interesting
safe.
to share.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Great to